Hello and welcome. I am going to be covering the topic today of ways to spice up your dinners for the week. So I personally have a collection of cookbooks, and I will start by either picking a cookbook, which is what I did this last time, is I kept it all in one book, or I'll flip through all of them and look for recipes that call to me. And I start making a list. I make basically a brainstorming list of what I would like to create. And I will pick just 3 recipes. I found if I pick more than 3, I have way too much leftover food, or I bought ingredients that just end up going bad because I don't use them in time. A lot of times the recipes that we make will have leftover food. So keeping in mind that you might have to eat it for lunch tomorrow or dinner the next day, and that's part of why I've stuck to 3, is for me personally, I find that there's definitely enough food to make it through 2 days. So if I pick 3 recipes, that's 6 days out of the week. And as I come up on making my new recipe, my old recipe is starting to move out of the fridge and there's room for the next thing. So once I'm done brainstorming and getting my list together of what I would like to make, I will start going down the list and I will pick my top 3. I will also put lists to the side of the things I would like to try later, things I would like to try at a certain event, with a certain group of friends, with my partner. And I'll make separate brainstorming lists for those recipes because I've already done a lot of the footwork by writing down the page number and the name of the recipe and what book it came from. I found that to be really helpful when I'm trying to go back to past lists of what book did I pull it out of and what page is it on. So that the next time I go into doing this, I have a kind of a jump board to get me going the next time, especially because typically when an idea is new, we have the most energy, and as it starts to get older, I don't want to pull out all 10 of my cookbooks and go through them again. So then the next time I sit down, I have a list to start with and maybe just pick 3 from the ones I didn't pick last time. Once your list is made and you've picked your 3 recipes, go ahead and go through the 3 recipes and do a little bit of what can I substitute, or do I want to substitute that I already have, and what is an exact ingredient that I already have. Go ahead and cross those off. Everything else that's on those recipe lists, start making a grocery list. By the time you're done with those 3 recipes, your grocery list for the week is made. And I found this to be really helpful in the grocery store as well because it keeps me really focused. I'm not wandering around the store trying to figure out what do I want to eat, and I think this might go with that. It's like, nope, I need this. And as I'm going through, sometimes I still pick up stuff on the side or stuff that's a quick snack. And my grocery shopping for the week is done. And all it took was about an hour of prep work beforehand to make every other part of the process that much simpler. To just really quick go through the grocery store, it takes me about 35 minutes instead of wandering around for an hour. And then when dinner time comes around, I will just pull out that book. I do keep a little mental note. You can also make notes on your list of what is the prep time for the different recipes that you've picked. So sometimes I do pick slow cooker recipes, and it's important to know how long it needs to be in the crock pot so that if I needed to get it ready earlier in the day or in the morning or put it on low, that's a good trick. You can double the time and put a crock pot on low and it'll still be ready for you in time. And knowing that helps me pick throughout the week what recipe is going to fit on what day. Maybe this day I am done at noon and I have time to do a 4-hour crock pot recipe. Maybe that's not in the book cards for any part of this week. And that prep time is also important to consider when you're picking your recipes for the week. What does my next week look like? And what kind of time do I have to put into cooking? Don't pick something that has an hour and a half of prep time and 6 hours of cooking time if you don't have a single day off this week. It's not going to work out in the long run. And again, you're going to be in a frustrated place where your ingredients are just going bad in the fridge and you're feeling bad about the money you spent. And you're like, there's so much frustration around food and how to feed ourselves and when to feed ourselves and what to feed ourselves. So try to make the process the least stressful as possible for yourself by picking recipes that fit with your lifestyle. This last time I did pick 3 crockpot recipes. And so far, it's gone really, really well this week. I had some leftover squash and potatoes and sausage that was really, really good. The first time around, we put it on a bed of spinach and did cherry tomatoes on the top. And as my leftovers, I just paired it with white rice, super easy to heat up in the microwave. all ready to go. My lunches are done. My next dinner is done. So keeping that in mind, the other way that you can change up what you're eating this week is to go through a store and do your typical shopping you would, but try to pick 1 to 2 ingredients that you wouldn't normally use. So for me, one of them is like bok choy or dragon fruit, things that I know that I already like, but not something that I buy on the regular. Usually when I go, I get celery, onion, avocado, bell pepper. Those are my staples. So try to get your staples and then pick up 1 or 2 ingredients that are brand new to you. And then when you go home and cook, I do this before I start cooking. I start looking up how do I use bok choy? How long does it take to cook? Do I need an hour? Like, how am I going to prepare it? What are the different ways that I can prepare it? Dragon fruit's an easy one because you can just peel it and chop it and eat it, and you can throw it on top of a salad. But those are the ideas that'll come through the grapevine that maybe you didn't think about. Maybe you were just thinking about peeling the dragon fruit and eating it as a piece of fruit or in a fruit salad or as a side for lunch without realizing that you could use some of it to throw on top of a salad at dinner time, or you can throw some in your smoothie in the morning. There's also different ways to use ingredients that we have not thought of. And just by poking through a few recipes of, you can put in dragon fruit recipes, or you can put in ways to use dragon fruit. You can put in bok choy recipes or recipes with bok choy, or you can put in how to prepare bok choy, and you can look at the different ways that you can start to incorporate new food into your weekly dinners. A lot of us do fall into a routine where it's easier to just, we make nachos on Tuesday, we make tacos on Thursday, we make lasagna on Friday, and you already know how long those recipes will stretch for, so it helps you plan because it's familiar. But we can get into a little bit of a slump with food where we're bored or our body's craving something different. And these are just some ideas of how to spice up what you're eating in easy ways that make it fun to go down this journey and to not be frustrated. And I hope that you take the time to consider trying one of these things. If you try one, let me know. These are just some of the ones that have worked the best for me. Sometimes I don't feel like following a cookbook recipe, or I know that I have a busy week, and that's when I'll do the 1 or 2 ingredients that are brand new to me, and it still opens up my world of food and gives me a little bit of excitement. So I'm not just in a humdrum of, oh, what do I want to eat, or I don't want that again. And yeah, I think that is all I have to say. You can definitely, there's magazines with recipes, there are websites with recipes, there's lots of ways to find your 3 recipes. And the fun part, for me at least, is going through the recipes and picking something that sounds good, or picking something that aligns with a lot of the ingredients that I already have. Maybe I have some stuff in the back of my cupboard that I used for something once upon a time, and now it's just sitting there. You can take that as your focal point. All right, I've got tricolor quinoa in the cupboard that I used for that one salmon dish. Start looking up tricolor quinoa recipes. You might be surprised with what you find and the things that call to you, and follow that train of thought. That's what I was trying to say. Follow it down to what is enticing to you this week. We don't really realize that our tastes change on a very frequent basis, and what our body needs changes on a frequent basis. And just by following what calls you in can pull you closer to what your body is asking for, what your intuition is telling you about what you need: more vegetables, more fruit. You might find a recipe. I've definitely, with vegetables, found that there are a lot of recipes that incorporate 6 or 7 vegetables instead of just the same 2 or 3 that I use on the regular. And it's one of the ways that I get more vital nutrients in my diet on a regular basis, is just by following a recipe that includes 3 times the amount that I would typically put in, because those are my go-tos. Those are my, I'm making eggs. Okay, we're gonna grab some spinach, some tomatoes, and some onion. Call it good. Or some bell pepper and some onion. That's amazing, but I also just made a dish with squash and sweet potato and fennel. Not things that I would always put in a dish together, but then you make sunny side up eggs and you make little spaces for them in your skillet, and you plop the eggs in the middle, and it was beautiful and it was colorful, and it brought more into my diet than I would have picked on my own. something to think about in the near future. Again, if you try it, let me know how it goes. Let me know if it just sits in your fridge and you're like, okay, that didn't work, because I have a lot more food tips that I can share and ways that I have personally taken part in to spice up my diet, because I'm kind of a picky eater and I almost feel like I'm fighting with myself sometimes, where that sounded really good last week and it doesn't sound good this week, and I don't always understand why. But by learning to listen to that, I am less frustrated with my process with food, and I find that I eat more often and I enjoy it more. So I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you for listening.